There is something you do in private that you would never admit in public. You rehearse conversations where you finally say what you really think. You imagine yourself walking away from situations that drain your energy. You picture yourself calm and composed while chaos swirls around you. But when the moment comes, you fold. You explain when you should stay silent. You react when you should respond. You bend when you should stand firm. Deep down, you know you were meant for something greater than this constant internal turbulence. You were not designed to be at the mercy of every criticism, every setback, every person who questions your path. There exists a version of you that nothing can shake, a version that moves through life with such quiet certainty that others instinctively step aside, a version that has discovered the one territory where you reign absolutely supreme. Your mind is the only domain where you possess complete sovereignty. Master this single realm and you become untouchable. Not because nothing can hurt you, but because you have learned to transform every blow into strength, every doubt into determination, every obstacle into opportunity. This is not about pretending to be strong. This is about becoming genuinely unshakable through the deliberate discipline of your thoughts and responses. This is about understanding that every giant accomplishment began as a disciplined idea in someone's mind, and that the bridge between thinking and achieving is built with one material only: self-discipline. You are about to discover how to craft your responses instead of surrendering to your impulses, how to wield silence as your most powerful weapon, how to persist when the world offers you no applause, how to stand so firmly in your purpose that respect flows to you naturally, without explanation or justification. If you are ready to stop being moved by every wind that blows and start being the immovable force in your own life, then what follows will mark the beginning of your transformation. Subscribe now, because what I am about to share with you has the power to change not just how you act, but who you become. Number 1, the mind as a fortress. You have been living as a refugee in your own mind. Every harsh word from a stranger becomes your internal voice. Every setback transforms into evidence of your inadequacy. Every criticism echoes in your thoughts long after the critic has forgotten what they said. You carry the weight of 1,000 judgments that were never yours to bear, and you wonder why you feel so exhausted at the end of each day. But here stands the most liberating truth you will ever encounter. Your mind is the only territory in this entire universe where you possess absolute sovereignty. Not your circumstances, not your past, not even your future, but your mind, your thoughts, your internal dialogue. This is your kingdom, and you have been letting invaders run wild in your palace. Picture your mind as an ancient fortress, built on the highest mountain, surrounded by walls so thick that no army can breach them. Every thought that enters must pass through gates that you control. Every emotion that stirs must be examined by guards that you have trained. Every reaction must be approved by a king that you have educated. This fortress is impenetrable, but only if you remember that you are the architect, the guard, and the ruler all at once. There was a man who discovered this truth during the worst period of his life. Stripped of his fortune, abandoned by those he trusted, facing criticism from every direction, he made a decision that changed everything. Instead of asking why the world was treating him unfairly, he asked a different question. How can I govern my response to what I cannot control? He stopped trying to manage the storm and started building the fortress. Within 2 years, not only had he rebuilt his wealth, but he had become unmovable in the face of any adversity. The external circumstances had not changed his internal state. He had learned to be unshakable. This is the turning point that separates those who merely survive from those who truly thrive. When you realize that mastering your mind is not about positive thinking or empty affirmations, but about deliberate mental discipline. It is about choosing your thoughts as carefully as you choose your words. It is about training your internal dialogue as rigorously as an athlete trains their body. Here's what you must understand. An undisciplined mind is not just a weakness. It is the assassin of every dream you have ever held. When anger controls your decisions, you make choices you regret. When anxiety governs your actions, you retreat from opportunities that could transform your life. When neediness drives your behavior, you repel the very things you desperately want to attract. But a disciplined mind becomes your greatest ally. It responds instead of reacting. It creates instead of consuming. It builds instead of destroying. It sees opportunity where others see obstacles. It finds strength where others find excuses. It discovers possibility where others discover problems. Mental discipline is not about suppressing emotions. It is about choosing which emotions deserve your energy and which ones deserve to be dismissed. It is not about avoiding challenges. It is about approaching them with clarity instead of chaos. It is not about becoming cold. It is about becoming calculating in the most powerful sense of the word. When you master your mind, criticism becomes information to be evaluated, not pain to be absorbed. Setbacks become data to be analyzed, not evidence of your unworthiness. Obstacles become puzzles to be solved, not walls to stop your progress. You begin to move through life not as someone who hopes things will go well, but as someone who knows they can handle whatever comes. This fortress of mental discipline becomes your source of unshakable strength. From this place of inner sovereignty, you no longer beg for respect. You command it through your presence. You no longer seek validation. You create value that speaks for itself. You no longer fear criticism. You use it as fuel for your growth. The moment you truly understand that your mind is your domain, everything changes. You stop being a victim of your circumstances and become the architect of your experience. You stop being moved by every wind that blows and become the mountain that stands firm through every storm. This is where your transformation begins, in the recognition that the only battle that truly matters is the one happening between your ears. Win that battle, and you become unstoppable. Lose it, and no external success will ever feel like enough. The choice, as always, is yours. But now you know where the real power lies. Number 2, self-discipline as the bridge from thought to action. You know exactly what you should be doing right now. You have read the books, watched the videos, made the plans. Your mind is full of brilliant ideas, and your heart burns with ambition. Yet here you are, scrolling through distractions, postponing the very actions that would transform your life. You live in the gap between knowing and doing, between intention and execution, between the person you want to become and the choices you make when nobody is watching. This gap is where dreams go to die. It is where potential rots into regret. It is where the voice in your head whispers that maybe you were not meant for greatness after all. But the truth is far more powerful. You are not lacking in knowledge or ability. You are lacking in the one invisible force that transforms every worthy thought into tangible reality. Self-discipline is the invisible bridge that connects the world of ideas to the world of results. It is the silent force that moves you forward when motivation has abandoned you. It is the steady hand that guides you when emotions try to steer you off course. It is the inner strength that whispers, "Do it anyway," when every fiber of your being wants to quit. Think of self-discipline as the most faithful servant you will ever have. It never asks for recognition, never demands applause, never seeks credit for your achievements. It simply shows up, day after day, choice after choice, moment after moment. It supports you when you are exhausted but still have work to do. It steadies you when you are criticized but know you must continue. It sustains you when you are overlooked but refuse to stop building. Consider the entrepreneur who wakes up every morning at 5 o'clock, not because she feels like it, but because her vision demands it. The world sees her eventual success and calls it luck or talent. But what they do not see are the 1,000 mornings when her alarm clock felt like an enemy, when her bed felt like sanctuary, when every logical reason told her to stay comfortable. Self-discipline was the force that moved her feet to the floor, her hands to her work, her mind to her purpose. It was the bridge between her dream of freedom and the daily actions that made freedom possible. This is the turning point that changes everything. When you stop waiting to feel motivated and start moving regardless of how you feel. When you understand that self-discipline is not about being harsh with yourself, but about being honest with yourself. It is not about perfection, it is about persistence. It is not about never falling, it is about always getting back up. Here is what most people misunderstand about self-discipline. They think it means forcing yourself to do things you hate. But true self-discipline is about training yourself to love the process that leads to what you want most. It is about rewiring your brain to find satisfaction in consistent action rather than instant gratification. It is about building an identity where doing the right thing becomes automatic, not effortful. Self-discipline is what allows you to act as if nothing can shake you, because you have trained your will to be stronger than your feelings. When others are moved by their moods, you are moved by your mission. When others are distracted by their desires, you are focused on your destiny. When others are controlled by their circumstances, you are guided by your convictions. Without self-discipline, every self-help book becomes just entertainment. Every goal becomes just a wish. Every plan becomes just a fantasy. But with self-discipline, every small action compounds into massive transformation. Every difficult choice builds unshakable character. Every moment of resistance strengthens your will for the next challenge. The beauty of self-discipline is that it multiplies itself. The more you exercise it, the stronger it becomes. The more you rely on it, the more reliable it becomes. The more you trust it, the more trustworthy it becomes. It is the one investment that pays dividends in every area of your life. When you master self-discipline, you stop being a person who talks about what they are going to do and become a person who simply does what needs to be done. You stop making excuses and start making progress. You stop hoping for better circumstances and start creating them through consistent action. This invisible strength becomes your secret weapon. While others are waiting for the perfect moment, you are building momentum through imperfect action. While others are looking for motivation, you are creating results through dedication. While others are making resolutions, you are making transformation a reality. Self-discipline is not about becoming a machine. It is about becoming unstoppable. It is not about ignoring your humanity. It is about directing your human nature toward your highest possibilities. It is not about living without pleasure. It is about finding deeper pleasure in becoming who you were meant to be. The bridge between your thoughts and your destiny is built one disciplined choice at a time. Start building today, because every moment you delay is another moment spent living below your potential. The person you want to become is waiting on the other side of consistent action. Self-discipline is the path that leads you home to that person. Number 3, strategic silence as a power. Move. You have been conditioned to believe that you must defend every attack, respond to every provocation, and justify every decision. The world has convinced you that silence equals weakness, that not responding means you have nothing to say, that staying quiet is the same as giving up. So you exhaust yourself explaining, defending, arguing, and reacting to every voice that demands your attention. You live in a constant state of emotional emergency, always ready to prove your worth through words. But the most powerful people in history understood a secret that the masses never learn. In a world full of noise, silence becomes the ultimate expression of strength. In a culture obsessed with reaction, restraint becomes revolutionary. In a society that mistakes volume for value, quietness becomes the hallmark of true authority. Silence is not the absence of power. It is power concentrated, refined, and weaponized. It is the difference between a scattered army and a disciplined force. It is the difference between reacting from emotion and responding from strategy. It is the difference between being moved by the chaos around you and moving through it with unwavering purpose. Picture a massive oak tree in the middle of a hurricane. The smaller trees around it are bending, breaking, and making noise as they fight against the wind. But the oak stands silent, rooted, unmoved. Its power is not in the sound it makes, but in the strength it possesses. Its authority is not announced, it is demonstrated. Its presence speaks louder than any words could ever speak. I once knew a man who built an empire without ever raising his voice. While his competitors were busy making noise about their strategies, he was quietly executing his plans. While they were defending their decisions in public, he was making better decisions in private. While they were reacting to every market fluctuation with panic or celebration, he was observing, calculating, and positioning himself for the long game. His silence was not weakness, it was wisdom in action. His restraint was not passivity, it was power under control. This is the moment when everything shifts, when you realize that you do not owe anyone an explanation for your choices, a justification for your path, or a defense of your decisions. Your energy is finite and precious. Every word you speak in reaction is energy stolen from your creation. Every argument you engage in is focus diverted from your mission. Every time you feel compelled to explain yourself, you give away a piece of your power. Strategic silence becomes your shield in a world that constantly tries to penetrate your peace. When someone criticizes your methods, silence protects you from being drawn into unproductive debates. When someone questions your decisions, silence preserves your energy for better choices. When someone tries to provoke you into reaction, silence demonstrates that you cannot be controlled by their emotions. But understand this: strategic silence is not about being passive or avoiding all communication. It is about being selective with your words, intentional with your responses, and protective of your mental space. It is about speaking when your words can create value and staying quiet when they would only create noise. It is about responding when response serves your purpose and remaining silent when silence serves you better. In negotiations, silence becomes your secret weapon. While others fill empty space with nervous chatter, your comfortable quiet creates pressure that often leads to better outcomes. In conflicts, silence prevents you from saying things you cannot take back and gives you time to choose responses that serve your interests. In leadership, silence commands respect in ways that loud assertions never could. The most profound form of influence is not what you say, but what you choose not to say. Your restraint speaks to your maturity, your selectivity demonstrates your wisdom, your ability to remain calm in chaos reveals your strength. People are drawn to those who possess this quiet confidence, this inner stability that cannot be shaken by external turbulence. When you master strategic silence, you stop being reactive and become responsive. You stop being led by others' emotions and start being guided by your own intelligence. You stop giving your power away through unnecessary words and start accumulating it through purposeful restraint. You become the person who speaks little but carries tremendous weight when they do speak. This transformation changes how others perceive you and interact with you. They begin to hang on your words because they know you do not waste them. They begin to respect your boundaries because they know you do not negotiate them carelessly. They begin to value your opinion because they know you do not offer it lightly. Your silence becomes a source of strength that others can feel but cannot explain. Your calm presence in the middle of chaos becomes magnetic. Your ability to remain unmoved by provocation becomes legendary. Your refusal to be drawn into petty arguments elevates you above the fray. But perhaps most importantly, strategic silence gives you the space to think clearly, to observe accurately, and to respond wisely. In the quiet moments between provocation and response, you find your power. In the pause between question and answer, you discover your truth. In the silence between chaos and action, you create your strategy. The world will always try to pull you into its noise, its drama, its urgency. Your task is to remain centered in your own quiet strength, responding only when response serves your highest good, speaking only when words can create value, engaging only when engagement moves you closer to your goals. In a loud world, your silence becomes your signature. In a reactive culture, your restraint becomes your revolution. In a chaotic environment, your calm becomes your calling card. This is not about becoming withdrawn or antisocial. This is about becoming powerful, purposeful, and unshakable through the strategic use of your voice and the even more strategic use of your silence. Number 4, unjust criticism and the judgment of others. You replay their words in your mind like a broken record. Every criticism cuts deeper than it should. Every judgment makes you question choices you once felt confident about. You find yourself shrinking, explaining, apologizing for taking up space in a world that seems determined to make you smaller. You have been carrying the weight of opinions that were never meant for you to bear, from people who have never walked your path or faced your challenges. But here is a truth that will liberate you from the prison of others' expectations. The harshest criticism you receive is rarely about your failures. It is about your discipline highlighting their lack of it. It is about your progress illuminating their stagnation. It is about your courage exposing their fear. Most unjust criticism is not an evaluation of your worth, it is a revelation of their pain. When someone criticizes your dedication to your goals, they are not commenting on your methods. They are confessing their own inability to maintain focus. When someone mocks your commitment to growth, they are not questioning your path, they are expressing their frustration with their own inaction. When someone diminishes your achievements, they are not evaluating your success, they are processing their own sense of inadequacy. Imagine a person who has been sitting in darkness for so long that they have forgotten what light looks like. When you walk into their space carrying a torch, their first instinct is not gratitude but anger. Your light makes them painfully aware of how long they have been stumbling in the dark. Your brightness reveals the shadows they have been hiding in. Your clarity exposes the confusion they have been accepting as normal. They do not attack your light because it is too dim. They attack it because it is too bright for their comfort. There was a woman who decided to transform her life completely. She left a comfortable but unfulfilling job to pursue her passion. She began waking up early to work on her dreams. She stopped participating in activities that drained her energy. She set boundaries with people who had grown accustomed to her unlimited availability. The criticism came swiftly and harshly. She was called selfish, unrealistic, irresponsible. But as years passed and her new life began to flourish, those same critics quietly began making changes in their own lives. What they had criticized as foolishness, they later adopted as wisdom. What they had attacked as selfishness, they later recognized as self-respect. This is the revelation that changes everything. When you stop seeking approval and start demanding respect through your actions, you discover that most criticism was never about you in the first place. It was about the critic processing their own relationship with fear, change, and possibility. Your growth became a mirror that reflected their stagnation. Your courage became a light that exposed their comfort with mediocrity. Once you understand this dynamic, criticism transforms from a weapon that wounds you into information that guides you. Unjust criticism becomes a compass, pointing toward what you are doing right, not what you are doing wrong. It becomes confirmation that you are moving in a direction that challenges the status quo, that threatens the comfort zone, that demands higher standards. The people who matter will not criticize your growth. They will celebrate it. The people whose opinions deserve your consideration will not tear you down. They will build you up. The people who truly care about your well-being will not try to keep you small. They will encourage you to expand. But here is what you must stop doing immediately. Stop explaining yourself to people who are determined to misunderstand you. Stop defending your choices to people who would make different choices. Stop seeking validation from people who are not qualified to evaluate your path. Stop shrinking yourself to fit into spaces that were too small for your potential. Respect is not earned through explanation. It is commanded through presence. When you carry yourself with quiet confidence, when you move with purpose despite criticism, when you continue building while others continue complaining, you develop an authority that speaks louder than any words of defense ever could. Your posture becomes your statement. Your consistency becomes your credibility. Your results become your response to every critic who ever doubted your direction. You do not need to argue with people who cannot see your vision. You need to execute it so clearly that even the blind cannot deny it. The transformation happens when you shift from being someone who hopes to be accepted to someone who refuses to be diminished. You stop asking permission to pursue your dreams and start taking responsibility for making them reality. You stop seeking approval for your standards and start maintaining them regardless of popular opinion. This does not mean you become arrogant or dismissive of all feedback. Wise people can distinguish between criticism that comes from love and criticism that comes from limitation. They can separate constructive feedback from destructive judgment. They can tell the difference between someone trying to help them grow and someone trying to make them shrink. When criticism comes your way, ask yourself these questions. Does this person have the results I want? Do they understand the path I am walking? Are they speaking from experience or from fear? Are they trying to elevate me or diminish me? The answers will tell you whether their words deserve your consideration or your dismissal. Remember this truth. Those who have never risked anything significant will always find fault with those who risk everything meaningful. Those who have never built anything substantial will always criticize the methods of those who are constructing their dreams. Those who have never faced their fears will always question the courage of those who are conquering theirs. Your job is not to convince them that you are right. Your job is to prove it through your results. Your responsibility is not to defend your vision. Your responsibility is to make it so undeniably real that defense becomes unnecessary. Your task is not to explain your greatness. Your task is to embody it so completely that explanation becomes irrelevant. Stand firm in your truth. Pursue your path with unwavering determination, and let your life become the answer to every question and the response to every criticism. The people who matter will understand. The people who understand will matter. Everyone else is just noise. Number 5, pain is the forge of character. You have been running from the very thing that could save you. Every time discomfort approaches, you reach for distractions. Every time challenge presents itself, you look for the easy way out. Every time life demands that you grow, you negotiate for more time in your comfort zone. You have been treating pain as your enemy when it has been waiting patiently to become your greatest teacher, your most faithful trainer, your most reliable guide to strength. The comfortable life you have been protecting is the same life that is slowly killing your potential. The pain you have been avoiding is the same pain that is trying to forge you into someone unbreakable. The struggle you have been escaping is the same struggle that wants to gift you with unshakable confidence, deep resilience, and quiet strength that cannot be taught through books or borrowed from others. Pain is not punishment, it is preparation. It is not evidence that something is wrong with your life. It is proof that something powerful is trying to emerge through your life. It is not a sign that you should quit. It is a signal that you are approaching a breakthrough that will change everything. Think of a blacksmith working with raw metal. The metal does not become a sword through gentle handling. It becomes a blade through fire, through hammer blows, through intense pressure applied at precisely the right moments. The metal that emerges from this process bears no resemblance to the shapeless ore that entered the forge. It has been transformed from something useless into something valuable, from something weak into something powerful, from something ordinary into something extraordinary. I remember a man who lost everything in a single year. His business collapsed, his marriage ended, and his health failed. For months, he cursed his circumstances and blamed the world for his suffering. But in the darkness of that experience, something unexpected began to happen. Stripped of everything he thought defined him, he discovered strengths he never knew he possessed. Forced to rebuild from nothing, he developed skills he never thought he needed. Compelled to face his deepest fears, he found courage he never imagined he had. 5 years later, he had built a life far more meaningful than the one he had lost. The pain that nearly destroyed him had actually reconstructed him. This is the turning point that separates those who grow through adversity from those who are crushed by it. The recognition that resistance to pain creates suffering, but acceptance of pain creates strength. When you stop fighting the discomfort and start learning from it, when you stop seeing challenges as obstacles and start seeing them as opportunities, when you stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and start asking, "What is this trying to teach me?" everything changes. The pain you experience today is not random. It is specifically designed to address the weakness in your character that is preventing you from reaching your next level. The challenge you face right now is not cruel coincidence. It is a customized curriculum created to develop the exact skills you need for your future success. The discomfort you want to escape is not your enemy. It is your personal trainer working to build the mental and emotional muscles you will need for the battles ahead. But here is what you must understand. Avoiding pain does not eliminate it. It only delays it and compounds it. The discomfort you refuse to face today will return tomorrow with interest. The growth you postpone in this moment will become mandatory in a future crisis. The strength you choose not to develop now will be desperately needed when life demands more from you than you currently have to give. Every great achievement was born in the furnace of difficulty. Every powerful person was forged through pressure. Every unshakable individual was created through experiences that could have broken them, but instead made them stronger. The pain was not the price they paid for success. It was the process through which success was created. When you embrace pain as your ally instead of treating it as your enemy, you stop being afraid of difficulty and start being grateful for it. You stop avoiding challenges and start seeking them. You stop asking for an easier path and start building the strength to handle a more demanding one. This shift in perspective transforms your entire approach to life. Instead of hoping nothing bad will happen, you develop confidence that you can handle whatever does happen. Instead of trying to control every circumstance, you focus on strengthening your ability to respond to any circumstance. Instead of seeking comfort above all else, you pursue growth above all else, knowing that temporary discomfort leads to permanent strength. The pain you endure in private becomes the power you display in public. The struggles you overcome in darkness become the confidence you carry in light. The battles you fight when no one is watching become the victories everyone will eventually see. Here is the practical truth. The next time pain enters your life, instead of immediately trying to escape it, pause and ask what it is trying to develop in you. Instead of numbing it with distractions, sit with it and listen to its message. Instead of cursing it as misfortune, examine it as curriculum. The answers you find will guide you toward growth that no comfortable experience could ever provide. Remember that diamonds are created under pressure, that gold is refined through fire, that muscles grow through resistance. You are no different. The pressure you feel is creating something precious within you. The fire you endure is burning away everything that is not essential to who you are becoming. The resistance you encounter is building strength you will need for challenges you cannot yet imagine. Your pain has purpose. Your struggle has meaning. Your difficulty has direction. It is not trying to destroy you, it is trying to develop you. It is not seeking to diminish you, it is working to strengthen you. It is not attempting to defeat you, it is laboring to complete you. The person you are becoming through this process of challenge and growth will be unrecognizable from the person you are today. You will possess a depth that comfort could never provide, a strength that ease could never build, a wisdom that convenience could never teach. You will be unshakable, not because nothing can hurt you, but because you have learned to transform every hurt into power. This is the paradox of true strength. It is not built by avoiding pain, but by walking through it with purpose. It is not created by escaping difficulty, but by embracing it with courage. It is not developed by seeking the easy path, but by taking the path that demands everything you have, and then finding more than you knew you possessed. Number 6. Definite purpose and constructive obsession. You are living a life divided against itself. Part of you wants success while another part fears the work it requires. Part of you dreams of greatness while another part settles for mediocrity. Part of you craves transformation while another part clings to comfort. You scatter your energy across a dozen different directions and then wonder why none of them lead to extraordinary results. You have been treating purpose like a hobby instead of like the life force that it truly is. Most people carry their goals like loose change in their pocket, something they occasionally remember but rarely prioritize. They want success, but they want it to be convenient. They desire achievement, but they want it to be comfortable. They claim to have dreams, but they refuse to let those dreams disturb their sleep, disrupt their routine, or demand their complete attention. But there exists a state of being where your purpose becomes so clear, so compelling, so completely integrated into your identity that distractions lose their power over you. This is what I call definite purpose, the moment when your goal stops being something you want and becomes someone you are. When this transformation occurs, everything changes. Sacrifice stops feeling like deprivation and starts feeling like investment. Hard work stops feeling like burden and starts feeling like privilege. Focus stops feeling like limitation and starts feeling like liberation. Picture a river that has been meandering lazily across a vast plain, spreading itself thin, lacking direction and power. Then suddenly the terrain changes and the water is forced into a narrow channel between steep banks. What was once slow and scattered becomes fast and focused. What was once weak and dispersed becomes strong and directed. The same water that barely moved mountains begins to carve canyons. This is what happens to your life force when you discover your definite purpose. I knew an artist who spent years dabbling in different mediums, different styles, different subjects. She produced work that was competent but not compelling, skilled but not moving. Then tragedy struck her family and she channeled all of her pain, all of her questions, all of her search for meaning into a single body of work that explored the human experience of loss and recovery. For 2 years, this project consumed her completely. She thought about it while brushing her teeth, dreamed about it while sleeping, saw connections to it in every conversation and every observation. What emerged was not just art. It was a masterpiece that touched millions of people and established her as one of the most important voices of her generation. She had found her definite purpose, and it had transformed her from someone who made art into someone who was art. This is the moment everything shifts, when you stop having a purpose and start being your purpose, when your goal becomes so integrated into your identity that working toward it feels as natural as breathing. When your vision becomes so clear that every decision becomes easy because you simply ask yourself whether it moves you closer to or further from your ultimate destination. Constructive obsession is not the unhealthy fixation that destroys relationships and ignores responsibilities. It is the healthy focus that creates extraordinary results and inspires everyone around you. It is the difference between being consumed by your purpose and being completed by it. It is the difference between losing yourself in your work and finding yourself through your work. When you achieve this state, what others call sacrifice, you call privilege. What others see as hard work, you experience as deep satisfaction. What others view as limitation, you understand as liberation from everything that does not serve your highest calling. You are not giving up everything else. You are choosing the one thing that makes everything else meaningful. The transformation begins in your daily experience. You wake up with clarity instead of confusion because you know exactly why you are here and what needs to be done. You go to sleep with satisfaction instead of regret because you have spent your day in service of something that matters deeply to you. You make decisions quickly and confidently because your definite purpose serves as a filter that makes the right choice obvious. Distractions that once derailed you for hours or days now barely register on your consciousness. Entertainment that once consumed your evenings now seems boring compared to the excitement of building your vision. Social obligations that once felt mandatory now feel optional because you understand the cost of time spent away from your purpose. You are not becoming antisocial, you are becoming selective. You are not losing friends, you are attracting people who share your level of commitment and clarity. Here is what you must understand. Having a definite purpose does not mean you become narrow or inflexible. It means you become focused and intentional. You do not lose your ability to enjoy life. You gain the ability to enjoy it more deeply because every experience either contributes to your purpose or provides necessary restoration for pursuing it. You do not become a machine. You become fully human in service of something larger than your immediate desires. The practical application is this. Your definite purpose must be specific enough to guide daily decisions but broad enough to accommodate growth and evolution. It must be personal enough to ignite your passion, but significant enough to benefit others. It must be challenging enough to demand your best effort, but clear enough to be measurable and achievable. When people ask how you maintain such focus, such consistency, such unwavering commitment to your goals, you will struggle to explain it because it no longer feels like effort. It feels like identity. You do not have to force yourself to work on your purpose any more than you have to force yourself to breathe. It becomes as natural and necessary as any other life function. This level of integration creates what appears to be supernatural results. You seem to have unlimited energy for your work because it energizes rather than drains you. You seem to have unlimited time for your purpose because you naturally eliminate activities that do not serve it. You seem to have unlimited creativity because your mind is constantly engaged with and excited by the challenge of moving closer to your vision. But perhaps most importantly, when your purpose becomes your identity, you stop seeking validation from external sources and start creating value for the world around you. You stop asking what life can give you and start asking what you can give to life. You stop being moved by every trend and opinion and start being guided by an internal compass that points toward your unique contribution to the world. This is not about becoming obsessed with success or achievement in the conventional sense. This is about becoming so aligned with your deepest calling that success becomes inevitable, not because you chase it, but because you embody it. Not because you force it, but because you allow it. Not because you need it for validation, but because you create it as expression. Your definite purpose is waiting for you to claim it, to embody it, to become it. It is not something you find, it is something you choose. It is not something you discover, it is something you decide. It is not something that happens to you. It is something you make happen through the power of absolute commitment to becoming who you were meant to be. Number 7, the quiet power of persistence. You have been waiting for applause that may never come. You have been seeking recognition for efforts that may go unnoticed for years. You have been hoping for encouragement from a world that is too busy with its own struggles to celebrate your daily victories. You measure your progress by external validation and wonder why you feel so exhausted, so discouraged, so tempted to quit when the silence becomes too heavy to bear. But the greatest victories in human history were won not in the bright lights of public attention, but in the quiet darkness of private determination. The most powerful transformations occurred not when crowds were cheering, but when no one was watching. The strongest people were forged not in moments of recognition, but in seasons of invisibility when they had nothing to sustain them except their own unshakable commitment to continue. True persistence is not the dramatic, heroic effort that movies celebrate. It is not the final burst of energy that wins the race or the last-minute rally that saves the day. True persistence is the quiet, daily choice to continue when continuation makes no logical sense. It is the decision to keep building when there is no evidence that your building will ever be complete. It is the willingness to keep planting seeds even when you cannot see the forest that will eventually grow. Imagine water dripping on stone, one drop at a time, hour after hour, year after year. Each individual drop seems insignificant, powerless, almost insulting in its small impact against such solid resistance. But time reveals what force cannot accomplish. Where violent attacks fail, patient persistence succeeds. Where dramatic efforts are defeated, quiet consistency creates miracles. The stone that could withstand earthquakes is eventually worn away by the gentle but relentless pressure of water that simply refuses to stop. There was a writer who submitted her manuscript to publishers for 7 years before finding one willing to take a chance on her work. During those 7 years, she received rejection after rejection, criticism after criticism, advice to pursue a more practical career. Friends stopped asking about her writing. Family members suggested she accept reality. The world gave her every reason to quit and no reason to continue. But she continued anyway, not because she felt confident, but because she had decided that quitting was not an option. Her book became a bestseller that inspired millions of people and launched a career that spanned decades. The world that ignored her for 7 years suddenly wanted to know her secret. The secret was simple. She had never stopped. This is the transformation that changes everything, when you shift from needing external fuel to being powered by internal commitment. When you stop looking for reasons to continue and start continuing regardless of what reasons exist. When you understand that persistence is not about feeling motivated, it is about moving forward whether you feel motivated or not. The quiet power of persistence lies in its compound effect. Each day of consistency may seem insignificant in isolation, but consistency over time creates momentum that becomes unstoppable. Each small action may appear meaningless by itself, but small actions repeated create massive transformation. Each moment of persistence may feel futile in the present, but moments of persistence accumulated create miraculous results. Most people underestimate the power of time combined with consistent action because they overestimate what they can accomplish in a day and underestimate what they can accomplish in a decade. They want immediate results from long-term strategies. They expect overnight success from daily disciplines. They seek instant gratification from investments that are designed to pay dividends over years. But you must understand this. The greatest test of your character is not what you do when people are watching, but what you do when no one cares. The measure of your strength is not how you perform when you feel inspired, but how you continue when inspiration is nowhere to be found. The proof of your commitment is not your behavior on good days, but your choices on the days when every voice in your head tells you to quit. When you master the art of quiet persistence, you develop an internal strength that cannot be shaken by external circumstances. You stop being dependent on motivation and start being powered by determination. You stop needing approval to continue and start continuing despite disapproval. You stop requiring guarantees of success and start guaranteeing success through the simple act of refusing to stop. This quiet strength changes how you move through the world. You become someone who cannot be discouraged because you do not depend on encouragement. You become someone who cannot be defeated because you do not accept defeat as an option. You become someone who cannot be stopped because you have removed stopping from your vocabulary. The practical application is this: you must learn to find satisfaction in the process rather than depending on the outcome for fulfillment. You must develop the ability to celebrate small progress rather than waiting for major breakthroughs. You must cultivate patience with the timeline while maintaining urgency with the daily work. This does not mean you become passive or accept mediocrity. It means you become strategic about where you place your energy. Instead of exhausting yourself with frustration about the pace of progress, you channel that energy into making more progress. Instead of wasting time complaining about lack of recognition, you invest that time in creating work worthy of recognition. Instead of demanding immediate results, you focus on immediate excellence. The transformation becomes visible over time. What seems like overnight success to observers was actually years of invisible preparation. What appears to be sudden breakthrough to spectators was actually gradual buildup behind the scenes. What looks like effortless achievement to outsiders was actually the result of persistent effort that no one witnessed. When your persistence becomes quiet and internal rather than loud and external, you stop being dependent on circumstances and start creating them. You stop being affected by seasons and start causing them. You stop being moved by conditions and start improving them through the sheer force of your unwavering commitment to continue. Remember that life tests everyone before it rewards them. The test is not whether you can perform when conditions are perfect. It is whether you can persist when conditions are difficult. The test is not whether you can continue when progress is visible. It is whether you can continue when progress is invisible. The test is not whether you can work when you feel like it. It is whether you can work especially when you do not feel like it. Your persistence in the dark determines your power in the light. Your consistency when no one is watching determines your credibility when everyone is watching. Your commitment when there is no applause determines your confidence when the applause finally comes. The quiet power of persistence is not about enduring until something better comes along. It is about becoming someone better through the process of enduring. It is not about surviving until circumstances change. It is about growing until you become the person who can change circumstances. This is the final lesson of becoming unshakable, that true strength is not displayed in moments of crisis, but demonstrated through seasons of consistency. That real power is not proven in dramatic events, but developed through disciplined habits. That lasting success is not achieved through spectacular efforts, but through persistent ones. The world may not applaud your daily efforts, but time will reward them. People may not notice your quiet persistence, but results will announce it. Society may not celebrate your private discipline, but reality will validate it. Continue not because you feel like it, but because continuation is who you have chosen to become. This is the essence of being unshakable, acting as if nothing can stop you until nothing can. There comes a moment in every person's life when they must choose between who they have been and who they are becoming. That moment is not marked by fanfare or external recognition. It happens in the quiet space between one breath and the next, between one thought and the next, between one choice and the next. You now stand at that threshold. The person who began this journey with questions and uncertainty is not the same person who understands these truths. Something fundamental has shifted within you. The old patterns of reaction no longer fit. The old habits of explanation no longer serve. The old need for external validation no longer controls you. Picture yourself as a mountain that has weathered countless storms. The winds that once threatened to topple you now only polish your surface. The rains that once seemed to erode your foundation now only reveal your unshakable core. You have become something that cannot be moved because you have learned to move from a place of absolute inner strength. This transformation continues beyond this moment. Every morning you wake, you have the opportunity to choose again. Every challenge you face becomes another chance to prove to yourself that you are indeed unshakable. Every criticism becomes confirmation that you are living by standards that make others uncomfortable. Every moment of silence becomes an expression of your inner authority. The journey of becoming unshakable is not a destination you reach. It is a way of being you embody. If you are ready to continue walking this path of inner mastery, subscribe to this journey of transformation. There are depths we have only begun to explore, strengths we have only started to develop, possibilities we have only started to imagine. Now, speak these words aloud and feel their power settle into your bones. I choose to be unshakable. Let this declaration become your foundation, your compass, and your unbreakable promise to yourself. Maturity is not about age. It is about safeguarding your peace, pursuing your definite purpose, and leading by the power of your silent example. This is who you are becoming. This is who you already are.